In this video, we're going to focus on how you can create a clickable Y scale like this. When I click on this here, but we want to make sure that the code is dynamic enough that if you would have another chart, it will automatically recognize as well the other chart, so you can connect them quickly together without repeating the code multiple times. So let's start to explore how to do this. So let's start to look how to create clickable X scales on multiple charts in Chart.js. So the first thing what we need is, of course, to go to chartjs3.com, getting started, or this specific link here above, and you can find this link in the description box. Scroll down and just copy this entire chunk of code here. Let's copy all of this, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here. So I'm going to paste this all in there, and then I will cut this out, and I will just paste this in here. Save this, refresh. Alright, so now we have one bar chart. What I want to do is I want to create a second one, so I'm going to reduce the size of this, let's say 400 pixels. Then we just say here, duplicate this here, and then I'll say here number 2. Save, refresh. So we have a second one, but of course it doesn't show because we need to put in some data in here. So what I will do is I will just copy this entire data set, or all the information here, copy this, and just paste that in here. I'll say this will be my chart number 2. Config, this will be number 2. It will be config here number 2. For the data, I cannot put number 2 here. No, I need data 2. And this will be referenced in here. So if you're wondering why, I'm going to recommend you to watch the video here that explains why we do the way we do it here. So this is very important to understand. So we have all of this now. Let's save that, refresh, we have that. So I suspect that this one should work. So let's double check here. We have the item here, chart, my chart number 2. Alright. This here number 2, config number 2, that one. And of course, this needs to be converted to number 2. Save, refresh. So now we have this here. What I want to do is I want to give this some different data, some different numbers, so it looks different. So I'm going to say here, this one will be only a black or grayish color. Then here the value will be slightly different. 15, 15, or we can leave this 9. I'll say here 3, and we make this 6, and we make this one 18. And here A, B, and I guess C, anything you want, doesn't matter. Just to make sure that we have different items, so you can see later on that the scale will look different when we click on these items, or on the scale items. So we want to make them clickable, and basically, if you've seen my other video how to create clickable X scales, I'm making here one version that is more soft coded compared to that version, because at that time when I make that video, I had a hard coded ID of the canvas, which is not allowed if you want to switch it to multiple items. So that's why I'm making this video again, but then far more updated. So what I'm going to do here now is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our function. We're going to here function, and let's call this a clickable scales. And then in here for now, I'll just do like this. And let's put in some additional enters. So there are some additional space. And then in here, all I do for now is say console log. And then we say here, hello. Just to make sure, because what we want to do is we want to test if this truly works. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create a function, or basically a add event listener. And what I want to do here is I will say here my chart dot canvas, because I'm going to grab basically the canvas. And when I click on this canvas, it should listen or hear the trigger and then do something. In this case, we'll just say hello. It's very simple. So then what I want to do here is add event listener. And here, this will be triggered by click, and then we're going to say a comma, and we will register this click as a e value or event. And then in here, the moment we do that, what we want to do is we want to grab this function and trigger this specific function. And in here, I'm going to say 2 variables. First of all, the my chart and the e value, which is the click value here, the event value. So once we did this, save this, and refresh. Now if I open the developer tab, and if I click here, you can see this works. Of course, if I click here, nothing happens. And you might say, well, why works, why it's only up, because we only trigger the click if we click anywhere on the canvas. So now we need to be more specific. So let's start to work on that. The first thing what I need to do is, if I want to, let's open up here or refresh, so we have this. If I want to make sure I click on this, I need to be able to trigger the coordinates of this. So if I click on this one, are we clicking on which one exactly? And then it will grab the index number. However, to do that, I need to know where my mouse is positioned. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to say here, let, and then I'm going to say reset coordinates. We just basically are going to do here is just to grab the coordinates of the X and Y of our mouse. And to do this, we will have these items here. So I'm going to say here, those items, I'm going to give this a parameter, which is chart, comma, and then this one will be click. So it will trigger, well, both of these and be registered as well. So then I can say here reset coordinates. Then I'm going to say here, click, which is basically the click trigger here. Then we say here dot client X. And oh, sorry, of course, this is not the one. No, what I need to do here first is to say chart.canvas. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to know how many pixels is this away from the window basically here. And the window is basically this entire item here that calculates it. So you can see here we have how many X pixels to the right I need to go. Apparently if I see this padding here, maybe 20 pixels or something like that. And here from the top will be calculated as well. However, to do this, we have to use this specific command here, chart.canvas, and then here get bounding client. Make sure you spell it correctly, rectangle. So if I do this and do console log, let's grab all of this, save, refresh, click, click, and did it work? Let's do a console log. There we are. We can see here we get the amount of pixels and all the information, how far we are away from this corner up here. And that's very important because then we can reset the original point to 0.0 here, where's the canvas, and then when we click somewhere it will calculate exactly only within this canvas here. So what we're going to do now is the constant, and I'm going to get the X coordinates. So we say X core. I'm going to use the X core because later on I will use the X and Y variables, so I want to avoid confusion with that. So then I'm going to say here is, this will be equal to the click dot client X. So basically the client X would calculate, when I click somewhere, it will calculate the exact coordinates between this point here to here, and from here to here or wherever I click on. So that's why I need to use the bounding client, or get bounding client rectangle, to remove the difference, or so we can calculate the difference. So then we're going to say here minus reset, then dot left. All right. Once I did that, I have this one because remember the X is on horizontal level, and then we're going to do exactly the same, but now on the Y position. So we're going to say here equals Y, and the Y is vertical, meaning from this point to there. So I need to know how many pixels it goes down. So I say here the top part I need to calculate. Once we have this, console log, X core, and we can do a console log, Y core. Let's remove this hello, we don't need this anymore. Save, refresh, click, click, click. You can see here it works, and if I go here, the closer I get to the corner here, let's see if I'm getting here somewhere, you will see eventually it's 0, or we're going to get very close to 0.0. Sometimes you have like this, minus 0.5, which is a very tiny margin of error. Pixel of 1 or difference of -1, -2, that's acceptable. It's a tiny difference. So now we have this. So we have our coordinates now of our mouse cursor. So what I need to do now is starting to get basically the item here that we are clicking within this box here, or in that box, or etc, etc. So let's start to do this, and we need to do this in a soft-coded style. So what I'm going to do here is basically this. I'm going to say a constant. And this constant, we're going to use the object destructuring. And if you don't know what is object destructuring, I have a video understanding object destructuring, which is highly recommended. I'm going to say here chart. So I will go here fast through that, but if you want to understand, watch that video. I will make sure it's also in the description box. So then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get the variables, and in this case I need the scales, and more specifically I will be needing here the x scale. So I'm going to say here the x scale, and then here I do another column because I need to go not only the x scale, I need to get basically this area here, which is the top. I need to know where's the top, the bottom, and then we have here the left side, and I need to know the right side. Well, not this right side, but I need to know here this right side. So I need to know the width as well and how many ticks we have. In this case, we have 7 ticks here. But I'm going to show you why this will become important later on. So I say top, comma, bottom, comma, left, comma, height. I guess we can say height as well, although it's not really necessary. And then the width. And then I will say here ticks as well. I will not get right. There is a variable for right, but I don't need the right one because the right one would be this point here, and I don't need that. I need to know later on. I'm going to give that a other name, and what I want is just the right side, which is this one, that one, that one. But that is of course a formula. So to do that, we have to do some work. So what I'm going to do now is let's say a constant right, and the right is basically this. If we know we have here, we want to calculate this space here, and the width would be this to that. That's why we have this width here. Then I need to know how many ticks we have. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the index. So that will be 7 ticks in length. So we have 7, or the width divided by 7 will give us the amount of pixels it needs to go to the right. So I'm going to say here, the width divided by ticks dot length. So this is very important, and if we do this, we should get a very nice variable here of how many pixels this basically is. So if I click now here somewhere, there we are. Apparently about 40 pixels it is. From this point to here is about 40 pixels. So now let's start to work on this. So what I want to do now is we're going to remove this, and we're going to create now an if statement. And this if statement will be very straightforward. We say if x coordinates, because what I want to do is I want to measure this point here. We have the left, we have the right, and then we have the top and we have the bottom. So if x coordinate is bigger or equal to left plus, well, we can do left. All right, that's the left. So I'm going to say left. All right. But what we need here is if we have another item here, the left would be, this is the left point here, by the way. So just to make sure you understand it. And that's we're going to do understanding chart area would be very useful as well to watch. So then we have this one here is basically the left plus whatever would be here the right side, and then here, 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 keep on going. So we need basically a formula here as well. So what I will do is here I will say plus the right multiplied by 0 for now. I'm going to leave it like that, and later on I'm going to show you how that will work. And then we're going to say here another condition is, and we want the x coordinates be smaller or equal to left plus right plus, and then multiply right or multiply by, in this case we could do anything. Let's say you're 1 for now, or 0. We can do it 0 as well, that's fine. Later on I'm going to change it with a for loop, or we'll be needing that. So the reason I'm doing that is because the left plus right, because remember, if we have here, this is the starting point, this will be the ending point. How to get here? It is left, that is this white space here, then the right, and then that will be it. But if you are on the next one, index 1, it would be left, right, and then that's it. But then on this side, it will be left, right, and then another right. And we have that here with this multiplier. Well, here, this multiplier, we'll just only count it on the beginning point. So later on I'm going to show you, so it will be all right. So you can easily follow along. So once we did this, and this is only on the x coordinates, so we also have the y coordinates. Let's grab that one, and then what we're going to say here, exactly the same methodology, but except this one is easier. We have here the top. So if it's larger than top, and if the y coordinates will be smaller or equal to bottom. So if you might wonder why smaller or equal to this and lower than larger than top. Well, let me explain. When we are here, how canvas works is basically if you're up here, it's 0 pixels. If you're down, it is whatever the height would be. In this case, 153 pixels. So that will mean if I want to go down here at the end, it's 153 pixels. If I go up, I should go maybe here. It is like 1/3 up. And then I'm here at 100 pixels. So basically, if let's say this is 100 pixels, if I go down, this is here 150 pixels. So this difference here is basically the importance that I'm doing here, referring. Top is this point here, which is in lower pixel amount than the bottom. So now we have this. And then what I want to do here now is I just say a console log, just to make sure we have something. And you're going to say a number 1 or console log number 1. If I refresh here now and click on the console log, you can see here this works. But if I click on this one, it doesn't work. However, because it's here says multiply by 1 or 0. So if I do 1 and 1 here, save that, refresh, this one will not work anymore, but this one does, as you can see here. The reason why is now because we go from left, right. That's only the first one is only times 1 time times right, but this one is left, right plus right. So left, right plus another right. That's the ending point. So that's why if I would go click here and then here eventually when I go to Wednesday, it doesn't recognize it anymore. So it understands now the structure of this. So what I'm going to do here is now basically do something very easy. I'm going to grab here just the label, or more specifically, I want to just grab this label here. And of course, you can do it with links or anything else that you want. It's no problem at all. So I'm going to say here, scroll down here. And what we can do here is, because we have the data destructuring or object destructuring, I'm going to just say here, the data. So I'm going to get the data object. And basically, that's this one here. I'm just jumping immediately in here and go to labels, whatever the index would be. So here will be, let's say, data dot labels. The index here, if I do number 1, would be this. Save, refresh. Click here, there you are. If I click here up, it doesn't trigger. So it understands true state, knows it now. So we have this. Now we create the for loop because we're now really truly done with it. So I say let I equals 0, and then we're going to say here we're going to do a for loop, and the for loop will be based on if I, or the iteration, which basically means repeating yourself a number of times, will be, as long as the I, or the loop, is smaller than the amount of ticks, and we have 7 ticks here, and the length equals 7, so if it's smaller, that will be fine. Semicolon, and then I plus plus. We're going to move this within here, put it in there, semicolon, save, refresh. Alright, so now if I do this, oh, of course, it doesn't work yet. Why? I didn't modify the I here. I and I, save, refresh. Now we click, 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 click. There you are, and this all works, but here it doesn't work. So why doesn't it work here? Well, the answer is very simple. We have this here. You can see here, this is the only thing that we use here, which creates the issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that, and I'll just say here, what is the ID here? Well, the ID for chart, the other chart would be my chart number 2. So just put in your number 2, number 2. Oh, sorry, not in the upper one. Forgive me. The upper one is, of course, for chart, the first chart. Then we have the second one. We'll say if this is if this one is triggered, we can still use the same chart or same function because all the formulas here are automatic. And let me show you, because what I want to do is I want to change this. Let's say remove these two here. So we have a smaller amount of values. So it should respond now accordingly with the calculated version. So if I click on this, here we just get all of these items here nicely. And then I click here, A, B, C, D, E, and G. And there we are. So it will recognize correctly both items in here. So for the final item is if you would say, well, I'm going to make this bigger, and then you want to click on it. If you adjust the chart, what we need to do here, and this is very important, I'm going to say here the following, enter. I'm going to say here, my chart, basically the chart item, and then we're going to say a dot resize. So what happens is that, of course, if your chart becomes bigger, your pixel coordinates must readjust itself. And so what I'm doing here is I'm forcing it a resize here, so we don't have any problem later on. And of course, for the same here, to resize on chart number 2. save, refresh, and now this will work as well. So you can see here this, there we are. If I change this a bit, let's see what happens if I expand this. You can see even if I go here the outer side, it works nicely. There we are. So it will work nicely, and it is dynamic as well, so that if you have a mobile phone or your desktop or a larger screen, it will always work nicely. And that's basically how we can combine one clickable function here and put it in every other chart you want. If you have another chart, copy this, change the ID here and here and here, and you're ready to go for the next one. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you say, well, hold on, I want to do it on the Y scale. Well, guess what? I have a nice video for you as well on the Y scale. That's this one here, how to create clickable Y axis with links in Chart.js.